The Olympic torch relay through Canberra is about to be finished with some arrests, but without the violent protests that have plagued its journey throughout the rest of the world. A celebration in the capital's Commonwealth Park is now underway as we wait for Olympic swimmer Ian Thorpe to light the community cauldron. Sporting and community leaders held the torch aloft as they wound their way around Canberra's most important landmarks. They were flanked by Australian police and the Chinese flame attendants, who at times appeared to jostle with one another. Red flag-waving Chinese supporters outnumbered pro-Tibet protesters. But while there were a number of scuffles and several arrests, overall runners were left to savour the moment. And 7 reporter Paul Kadak is at stage 88, the final point on the relay, and he joins us now. Good morning to you, Paul. We're looking now at pictures of Ian Thorpe. Give us a sense of what it is like there this morning.
Just listen to that. I think that gives you a pretty good sense. Ian Thorpe, brilliant timing. Ian Thorpe just arriving, lighting the flame at the end of this torch relay through Canberra.
It's such a wonderful moment there to see Ian Thorpe. He's our most successful Olympian, and he said that it is a great honour to be a small part of the torch relay. He also was hoping that people wouldn't disrupt the Olympic torch relay too much. And Paul, it seems like it has been a fairly peaceful morning.
That's correct, and as you probably would have just seen there, I think Ian maybe accidentally just extinguished the cauldron. I'm sure that they'll fix that very shortly. But yes, he was keen to see only peaceful protesters, as pretty much everyone was. And there were lots of protesters. There are still here thousands of pro-China supporters. We have seen lots of pro-Tibet supporters. There's been lots of noise. There have been quite a few scuffles, though, as the two groups got together. Police tried to keep them apart, but they were simply outnumbered by them. But there has thankfully been no serious incidents. There have been some people arrested, but no serious incidents, and thankfully no one hurt. So now that they're trying to relight the cauldron now, which Ian has accidentally. So it is now the end of the torch relay. It was, of course, sporting great Ron Clark who lit the cauldron in Melbourne in 1956, who handed the flame to Ian Thorpe, and now Ian Thorpe has lit the flame here, and this is the final end of the Canberra torch relay.
Paul, there are some of the Chinese flame attendants attempting to relight the torch. There has been a little bit of controversy over their involvement in the torch relay, hasn't there? Because we saw sort of images earlier today of them jostling with Australian Federal Police, and it looks like they are having some problems relighting that Olympic flame. Oh, there we go.
They've now got the Olympic. They've now got it relit. So the flame attendants are doing their work there, but there has been some jostling this morning. There is sure to be some communication between Australian and Chinese officials about that. There have been controversy over the last few days as to just what their role was. Both sides insisting that they would have no security role, that they would only be there for technical issues like we've just seen, lighting and relighting the cauldron, or in this case, lighting and relighting the torch. So I'm sure there will be communication between Australian and Chinese officials, because Federal Police, who were responsible for all this, said security was their role and their role alone, and the Chinese, speaking to the ambassador last night, speaking to officials yesterday, seemed to get that message.
And Paul, behind you, I mean, there are thousands of people who've been watching that Olympic torch relay through Canberra. You've got a lot of pro-Chinese supporters there behind you. You've been there all morning. What has it been like?
Well, it has been fairly intense, and I suppose the torch relay is a special moment enough, an emotional moment and a significant moment to be visiting Australia again, but this has been made more intense by the sheer numbers of people who've turned up to use this opportunity to make their point known. We, of course, have pro-Tibet supporters who've been out in full force trying to pass on their message, and in response and getting ready for that, there have been pro-China supporters who've come in from all parts of Australia. There were claims that there would be 10,000, maybe more, descending on camera. We have even exceeded that by some measure, and they have not been afraid to be vocal. They have not been afraid to, as you can see, show the flag, and at each point there have been protest areas at major points along the relay route. We have seen pro-China and pro-Tibet supporters in big groups. Police have tried to keep them apart. That hasn't always worked, and there have been some scuffles, but there's certainly a lot of passion out there. And at the moment, though, it is actually quiet. I think people are just listening, admiring the flame and listening to the message now coming from the stage.
And, you know, as you say, an enormous security operation there today, where they actually corralled different sections of the media and supporters and protesters into areas. What was that like?
Well, that was part of the security operation to keep, I guess, control wherever security forces could. There was some concern about access to the torch relay from a media perspective, from a public perspective as well. But that has certainly been enforced as best they can, keeping people to areas. Although I have to say, in a lot of those areas, police were actually fairly flexible with the media. At least we were given a chance to get in there and see what was going on and to cover that. So I guess they had concerns about restricting people, but in the end I think they were quite happy for people to see what was going on. It's what today has all been about. It's been a chance to see the Olympic flame, but also for people to express their point of view, to make their protest, and that has been observed as well.
Paul Kadak in Canberra, thanks so much for sharing your experiences with us this morning. Well, the first runner set off on the relay just before 9, sent on her way after an Aboriginal smoking ceremony at Reconciliation Place.
The day started off with a bang, a spectacular dawn fireworks display on the banks of Lake Burley-Griffin.
The atmosphere here is just incredible this morning.
The crowds gathered early too, keen to soak up the carnival atmosphere and catch a glimpse of the flame. Australian of the Year Lee Kernaghan sang the national anthem. The torch was lit and the relay was underway, courtesy of 2007 Young Australian of the Year, Tanya Major, who sent the flame on for a quick row across the lake. Aspiring Olympian Christian Williams has overcome a genetic heart condition to carry the torch, and boy, wasn't he thrilled before his leg.
I am psyched out of my mind. I can't put it into words. I'm shaking like a chook shed.
Then it all started to come unstuck.
A couple of our federal police having a discussion with some of the other Chinese runners.
Casually dressed AFP officers openly jostling with the controversial Chinese torch protectors, ordering them to stay away from the flame. And more trouble as the relay reached Parliament House. Police pounced on a protester who tried to disrupt the relay run, quickly dragging him off the road. They also made several arrests after scuffles broke out between pro-Tibetan protesters and Chinese supporters. All this as the relay went on, the flame carried to the Stone of Remembrance by Olympic legend Marjorie Jackson.